And we're back for the second time today, like we never left. Welcome to the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for spending some of your late Saturday afternoon here with me in New York. And once again, we're going to skip past all that promotional jazz and get right to the guts of the episode. Today will be the second entry in our new series, which I started off by calling Most Overrated Movies, but I don't really like the word overrated. I'm going to say most overhyped. Doesn't necessarily mean that the movie is bad. It just means that me personally never quite understood, let's just say, the masterpiece that so many others witnessed. And the first movie that I spoke about for this series is the Coen brothers' very strong film, Fargo, that as I say, I like it. I think it's a very good movie, but I don't even have it in my Coen brothers top 5. It's barely in the top 10. I always felt the film was a little bit overhyped, but then again, almost everyone I know loves that movie. So, as I always say, I'm in the minority. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just how the film hits me. So, the second entry is a movie that got widespread acclaim and ended up winning a lot of the major hardware at the 2000 Academy Awards. And it is a film I also like, but I thought it was wildly overhyped, and I just didn't think that it worked as well as so many people did then and still do to this day. My sense is that this is not a movie that, time has been cruel, maybe because of the presence of its lead actor, but I don't mean like that. I mean from the story perspective, the characters, what the film is saying about society and culture then versus now. I don't think the movie has dated badly. I just didn't think it was that good in the first place. The movie I'm talking about, of course, is Sam Mendes' very disturbing and challenging 1999 drama/black comedy, American Beauty. Now, American Beauty first got on my radar because of something that Steven Spielberg said. And Spielberg, yes, he was part of the production. DreamWorks was involved, is what I mean. The thing is, there are certain people that even if they have skin in the game, I kind of trust them. I trust that they're going to give a real opinion. And Spielberg, before American Beauty came out, it had just wrapped and he saw a kind of early cut and he raved about it. And I, for 1 second, don't think he was full of shit. I don't think he was simply promoting the film. He got to see it because it was a DreamWorks co-production. I think it was a co-production, or maybe they did the whole thing. But he said, words to the effect of, Mendes has made a movie better than anything I could ever do. Now, the overpraising, that's classic Spielberg. He always has a little bit of a self-deprecating way about him, almost implying, like even with Clint Eastwood, after he was going to direct his original plan, Bridges of Madison County, and then when Clint brought the film in, as always, on time and under budget, Spielberg said he didn't think that he was the right person for the job after all, and he was glad that Clint ended up making that film as director and not Steven. So he has that self-deprecating side to his personality, but I believe that he was telling the truth with American Beauty. I honestly think the film blew him away, and when critical reviews began to appear, well, most of the major critics hit the ceiling. So this was a film that I was really excited to see, and I watched it on opening weekend, and it is certainly a powerful film. It has moments of incredible beauty, and Spacey's performance is really good. I don't want to, impugn Kevin Spacey's talent or anything like that. He's a great actor. He was fantastic in The Usual Suspects, a movie I also don't really like that much. He's fantastic in Seven, as we know, and even in Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman and Rene Russo. There are stretches of the film where he's pretty much the third lead. Like, that's how important his character is in the world of that story. Spacey is a great actor, and he gives a top-level performance. He ended up winning the Oscar. That was the Oscar where Denzel supposedly went home and drank himself to sleep because he was so upset that he lost. And to be fair, I think Denzel kind of got robbed there. He should have won for The Hurricane, but that has nothing to do with American Beauty. The original screenplay, I think the screenwriter was Alan Ball, who later on did a very successful series on HBO, 6 Feet Under, with was it Michael C. Hall and Lauren Ambrose. But Michael C. Hall, the pre-Dexter Michael C. Hall, he was just kind of finding his footing. Man, what a distinctive actor. What a terrific screen actor Michael C. Hall. Just awesome. Screen and TV, I should say. So I didn't read. This was when I was much more plugged into the movie business. You know, I had various screenplays. Oh, this guy's reading this, and they're going to offer you a deal on that, and all of this craziness was going on. So I was looking at different scripts, and there were some films that had been produced where I had read the script before seeing the movie. I did not read American Beauty before the film came out, but there was chatter on the 1998, 1999 version of the internet. There was chatter that a very important moment in Alan Ball's script was filmed and not used. And it meant nothing to me until I watched the movie, and I thought they made a mistake. But we'll get to that. I watched the movie with my dear old dad, and it's a little bit of a movie that maybe I shouldn't have seen with my father. There's certain movies that better off watching alone. American Beauty is a movie I kind of wish that I had gone to the cinemas by myself instead of going with my dear old dad. I was just uncomfortable. I'll tell you another one, even worse, way worse. The Larry Clark Harmony Korine collaboration from 1995, where people were going fucking crazy. The movie Kids, which plays like a documentary, but it was just a cinema verite style, but it was not. That was a movie that I wish that I had not gone to with my dad. He was embarrassed too. Not that it's a bad movie, but it deals with themes and concepts you just don't want to. It would have been worse with my mom. It just, you know, and even David Denby, my second favorite movie critic behind Roger Ebert, he didn't really like the movie Kids very much, but he ended his review by saying, this film is so dirty and grimy, you just want to jump in the shower afterwards and wash it off. He wasn't that far off. That's one of his best quotes ever. So American Beauty is not that uncomfortable, but there are certain characters and certain themes that are supposed to be thought-provoking. They're supposed to make us think about our own lives, and I don't have any issue with that. My problem was I thought that the film was just too obvious. It was too nail-meat-head. And I felt like there was a more nuanced story to be told. And also, I really like Wes Bentley as an actor, and the character he plays in this film is okay, and I feel like they didn't take enough advantage of how versatile and resourceful he could be. The whole thing with the plastic bag, I mean, I was in my seat, I was giggling. There were people that were crying in the theater. I just thought that was hilarious. I thought that, okay, he's just fucking around here. And my biggest problem with the movie, it bothered me as I was watching the film. I was only 2.5 years at a film school. So I still had the film student brain, and I was seeing things that now somebody who was 2.5 years at a film school would probably see that's going to just, I'm not going to get it. It's going to go right over my head. But I saw something early in the film, and let me start off by saying, disclaimer, I am a big Annette Bening fan. Annette Bening has given so many great performances, and she was great in this film. She was nominated, I believe, for supporting actress, but her performance is not calibrated correctly. It seems as if she was the only person in the cast who realized that this is a black comedy. This is a black comedy, and I am going to give black comedy line readings. Kevin Spacey is playing the material as if it's Shakespeare. Mina Suvari is playing this material as if it's, Twelfth Night or something in that ballpark. Most of the primary actors, including Wes Bentley and Thora Birch, they are reading their lines as if they're on stage in some cases, as if there is a level of theatricality. And Annette Bening gets the joke. She's in a comedy. Just the way she says the word Lester. Lester, stop it. We're supposed to laugh. But because everyone else is playing the material so seriously, it doesn't come across as funny as I think it was supposed to. For me, her performance throws the entire movie, it just throws it out of whack. And I've never been able to get past that. When I first saw it, the scene that everyone was talking about, it's the best dinner table scene since Citizen Kane. I mean, okay. You really want it? We were going to go there? And Citizen Kane is 58 years earlier. I can do math also. To even compare anything in this movie to Citizen Kane is absurd. But the fact that people were pointing to this moment as if it had some weight, and that's why they did it that way, I was frustrated because I heard that comparison before seeing the movie. And then when we got to it, I'm like, you got to be shit. Come on. But Annette's line readings, her pretend crying, and all of this stuff, you could make a straightforward comedy with that character. And she's the only character like that in this film. And it just sticks out like a sore thumb. So I like the movie, similar to Fargo, although if you ask me overall, which movie do I think is better, American Beauty or Fargo? Again, 3 years apart. Fargo was nominated for 7 Oscars in 1996 and lost, the big ones to English Patient, winning for Frances McDormand and the Coen brothers. Really good screenplay. But American Beauty, I think that Fargo is a better movie. I said it, I would give Fargo between 3 and 3.5 stars out of 4. I'll give American Beauty 3. This is a film I recommend. I don't hate it, but I did not see the all-time classic that so many people, and I'm telling you, my dad and I left the theater that day, and my sense was at least 3/4 of the people in attendance thought the film was absolutely incredible. Like, there were people wiping tears from their eyes as they were leaving. There were people that were clearly very shaken. I was shaken, but not exactly in the way that I think I was supposed to. Because it felt like there was a better movie in there somewhere. It just didn't quite get there for me. But what I wanted to say about something that was in the script, and it's not just that it's in the script. In this instance, it's the fact that it was in the shooting script and there's a scene that was filmed. So this is a mild spoiler. The character of Lester Burnham, that's the Kevin Spacey character, the primary character in the film. He develops let's just say, a very unhealthy fixation / obsession / throw a net on this guy with the Mina Suvari character, who is the best friend of his daughter, played by Thora Birch. Really, really good performance by Thora Birch, by the way. Like, she, to me, gives the best, most carefully calibrated. I don't think that she was calibrating it, but let's just say Sam Mendes, I feel like, got the most out of her that he could have. He got max value, and every scene with her feels right and it feels real. She's awesome. But her best friend, played by Mina Suvari, Kevin Spacey's character, Lester Burnham, develops an incredibly dangerous and sick fixation / obsession. Now, I don't know if it's almost ridiculous to bring this up. I know what Kevin Spacey has been accused of, but I don't know if she's, strictly speaking, underage, or if this, like, how bad is the character of Lester Burnham looking that he is lusting after her? Like, because there's levels of bad. If you have a mid-50s guy who is lusting after a 16-year-old in a state where it's legal, it's still bad. Like, from every angle, his obsession with this girl is not okay. But in Alan Ball's original script, and it was filmed, that even when, well, let me just start with what we see in the movie. In the movie, spoiler alert, this is a little bit more than a mild spoiler, although nobody dies. He has the opportunity to go through with fulfilling his fantasy. And this is something the movie did that did take me by surprise. I should, to kind of give a little bouquet of praise. I didn't think that he was going to get anywhere. I didn't think the story was going to go down such a kind of dark path. It felt like there was a little bit of lightness, and okay, maybe it'll turn more into the black. But he actually gets to a point where he's almost to the finish line with this friend of his daughter's. And then because his assumption, it's the inverse, it's the 180 degree of what happens in the movie 10, the Blake Edwards with Dudley Moore and Bo Derek, a movie which was 20 years prior, where in that film, Dudley Moore, he sees this vision, the most beautiful woman in the history of the world, played by Bo Derek in the film. And even though he doesn't vocalize it, another character does, he sees her as somebody of just purity and goodness and all of that. And then when it turns out that she has a normal sex life, she is a normal person, he kind of gets turned off. And in this film, Kevin Spacey's character of Lester, his assumption, because this girl was making such intimate eye contact with him, at least he thought she was, and that she's seemingly interested. I don't know if she's going to scream the word daddy at him or anything like that. But when she tells him the truth, and it's beautiful acting by Mina Suvari in this scene, she's a virgin. The Lester Burnham in the final cut of the film, he's almost horrified that he's gone this far. And he backpedals away. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Sam Mendes never shot the scene implying that Lester Burnham has sex with the girl. But I know that it was in a late draft script. I believe it is in the shooting script, and they may indeed have filmed. It wouldn't really be a sex scene. It would all be implied. I'm not taking issue with anything that Mendes may have shot or put into the film. All of this is this is all above board. But I feel like it's almost giving Lester an unearned arc, given what we know of the character and everything that's happened throughout the story about what a sad sack he is. I liked the moment in the movie, but the more I think about it, I feel like maybe they should have left it in. I don't know. What do you think? Are you a huge fan of this film? Because I do know a lot of people that would put this among their favorite films of the decade. And I was really disappointed. That was one of the last Oscar years where I saw the balance of the films that were, up in the big categories. And if you ask me, name better films just off the top of my head from 1999, what do you consider to be better movies than American Beauty? Blair Witch Project. Blair Witch Project, 4 stars out of 4. Way better. The Matrix, way better than American Beauty. I'll even say The Sixth Sense, better than American Beauty. 1999 is one of the great years for movies. Hell, I like Star Wars The Phantom Menace more than American Beauty. How do you like them apples? That's not perfect, but I was also in the minority there. I thought Phantom Menace was terrific. So it wasn't episode 4, 5, or 6. What could live up to episode 4, 5, or 6? Nothing. That's a film I saw 3 times in theaters. Other than The Truman Show, I think those are the only 2 movies I ever actually saw 3 times in theaters. Isn't that funny? Phantom Menace, absolutely love it. Even with all that bullshit with the Trade Federation and the blockade. Get Natalie Portman, they should have given her extra money every time she has to say the word blockade in that film. So American Beauty did have the huge, not really a sweep, but it was the big winner at those Oscars. And I was really disappointed because I felt that there were better movies of that year. And it's just, I don't know. The film always felt overhyped, not necessarily, overrated by critics that said it's the best American movie made in a decade. Give me a break. The 90s is the best movie decade. And if you ask me what's the weakest Best Picture winner in the 90s, I think that because we can go through it. Best Picture winner, right? 1990, Dances with Wolves. Should have been Goodfellas. Dances with Wolves. It's still a great movie. And yes, Dances with Wolves is better than American Beauty, just for the record. Silence of the Lambs, 91. No. Unforgiven, 92. No. Schindler's List, 93. Forrest Gump, 94. You know what? Some people might put American Beauty above Forrest Gump. I don't think so. Is it better than Braveheart? No, it's not better than Braveheart. It's not better than The English Patient. It's not better than Titanic. And it's not better. I'm going to put Shakespeare in Love way ahead of American Beauty. Shakespeare in Love, to me, I know it's very controversial, and that's an Oscar that a lot of people think, well, they fucked up. They should have given it to Saving Private Ryan. Hey, I'm the biggest Steven Spielberg fan you know. I was okay with Shakespeare in Love winning the Best Picture Oscar. I think that film is phenomenal. I thought it was great when I saw it back then, and I still think it's great. Joseph Fiennes had one incredible performance in him as Shakespeare in that film. But that whole cast is great, from Rupert Everett, Simon Callow. Ben Affleck is a scream in that film. And I really like Gwyneth. People were upset, she shouldn't have won the Oscar. I love her performance in that film. I thought she was just fine. It was terrific. With the accents and everything. No problem. So, is American Beauty the weakest Best Picture Oscar winner of the 90s? If it isn't, it's in the bottom 2. Again, it doesn't mean it's not a great film. But there were other movies from that year, and just in general, it's a 3 to 3.5 star movie. Now, I remember also there was a lot of controversy at the time with, like, Kevin Spacey. He said a couple of things. This wasn't controversial at the time. It became after Spacey had his issues. Some of the things that he said in his Oscar speech, people went back and they analyzed and they said, oh my God, it didn't seem, as people say a lot of stuff during when they accept their Oscars, but some of the things that he'd said, and he had a strange speech about when he won for The Usual Suspects 5 years earlier, or 5 years, 4 years earlier. Sorry, he said a lot of things about the director Bryan Singer, and it didn't come across. It came across fine at the time, but then when he ran into problems, people go back and oh my God, Seth MacFarlane knew what was going on, and there was that whole thing. I don't know why I didn't respond to this film the way I was supposed to. And if I'm asked the question, what's Sam Mendes' best film? I think it's Road to Perdition. Now, Road to Perdition is one of those movies that got terrific reviews when it came out, but it didn't do as well, let's say, during awards season. And Paul Newman got his final Oscar nomination. Boy, I was hoping that he would win. I like his performance in that film. But you could have nominated Hanks for Best Actor. He's terrific. Jude Law is great. The film could have been up for Best Picture. It should have won Best Cinematography. So I don't know whether there was even a mild backlash because of the success of American Beauty. And American Beauty was a significant box office hit. I don't know how much repeat business we're talking about, but 99, The Sixth Sense had crazy repeat business. The second Austin Powers movie was a huge hit. A lot of people saw it twice. Phantom Menace, a lot of people went to see twice. I actually saw the Blair Witch Project twice in theaters, now that I'm thinking about it. Now, that movie completely, for all of the expectations. So you think about when you learn of a movie ahead of time, as I learned about American Beauty. Perhaps it was a victim of outsized expectations, especially because of what Spielberg had to say. Maybe I was doomed to not like it as much because the advance buzz, so many critics going crazy. But the advance buzz on the Blair Witch Project was that this is a revolutionary storytelling technique, what they're doing, what's now called found footage. This was basically the first found footage film that got any traction. But that was a film that had enormous buzz going back to the Sundance Film Festival in January of 1999. People were going nuts back then. And so with all the reading I did about the Blair Witch Project, I knew it was not real. I knew it wasn't a snuff film. Yeah, they're really dead. It's about 3 student filmmakers, but it's a true documentary. It's a snuff film. Okay. But with all the hype on Blair Witch, the movie, if anything, exceeded it. That's not a film you normally would expect to go to see more than once in theaters. I saw it twice. I couldn't get enough of it. I thought the film was an absolute masterpiece. And, the advance buzz on Star Wars The Phantom Menace, there are a lot of people saying they didn't like it. I think that kind of helped because it moderated my expectations. And then when I saw the film, I said, this was fantastic. And by the way, casting Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon was a masterstroke. George Lucas fucked a lot of things up when it came to that film. He had probably better actors more well suited to the part of Anakin Skywalker than Jake Lloyd, but he wanted to go with Jake. And you know what? It's Jake's only film in the franchise. He's okay. I don't think he hurts the film. There may be a couple of line readings that they could have had him do another couple of takes, but there's nothing like, oh my God, the kid is terrible. We've seen a lot worse performances where you're scratching your head, why did they cast him? If I didn't know that there were any other child actors who appeared to be better suited to the part, I wouldn't have said, oh, this kid is terrible. But that's a film that had reasonably high expectations. Obviously, everybody was going nuts with excitement, but once distributors started to put word out, it's good but not great. There's some terrific action sequences. Oh, and casting Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, also a masterstroke. When they decided to go that route of having the younger Obi-Wan, because when I was in film school, I remember in the mid-90s, circa 95, 96, when they were doing a prequel, there was an idea of an older Obi-Wan, 20 to 30 years younger than how Alec Guinness is presented in, Star Wars Episode 4. And the buzz back then was that it was going to be Kenneth Branagh. Branagh would have been, well into his 40s at the time. It's obviously going to be a completely different kind of film with Kenneth Branagh as an older Obi-Wan. You wouldn't be telling this story with a kind of age appropriate. Liam Neeson and Kenneth Branagh can't be that far apart in age. So that whole dynamic would have been changed. I'm happy that Lucas, for all the shit that he took back then, George Lucas destroyed my childhood. I hate George Lucas, the negative fans. I love Star Wars, but I hate every Star Wars movie because reasons. And I hate this, and George Lucas is horrible. People think that J.J. Abrams got a rough go of it with the more, in the current day with 7, 8, 9. Lucas was pilloried in every possible way by an enormous percentage of alleged lifelong Star Wars fans. Phantom Menace is just a complete desecration of our childhood fan. Come on. Now, I don't have any problem with people taking it seriously, but let's get a grip. The movie wasn't that bad. I mean, it was well cast, other than maybe Jake Lloyd, and it built to a pretty exciting climax. Certainly not expecting the final battle with Darth Maul and all of that to go the way that it did. And I thought the movie was really good. Phantom Menace and American Beauty, I would say, are about even in terms of quality as far as I'm concerned. 3 to 3.5 stars, worthy efforts. Just in the case of American Beauty, I don't think worthy of the kind of idolatry and all of the just incredible acclaim. So many different critics almost praising it as high as Pulp Fiction. Because when Pulp Fiction, for example, 5 years earlier hit, people were saying, this is one of the great American films. This is the next great American film. When people saw Reservoir Dogs, a lot of people correctly predicted this is the next great American talent as far as directing in Quentin Tarantino. Well, writer-director. I just feel like American Beauty didn't live up to the hype. Despite the fact that all of the actors give good performances, it's just Annette Bening is over here when everybody else is over there. And yeah, I normally look up to see whether a movie is free on streaming. I know that the film has been on Max. I shouldn't say that. I'm pretty sure the film has been on Max, but I don't know if it's streaming free anywhere. If you haven't seen it, again, it's worth seeing. Me saying it's overhyped or overpraised, this is still a good movie, and the odds are you're going to like it more than I did because most people I know who saw it put it up way higher than me. I know some people might even put this in their top 10 favorite movies of all time. This is a film that it might hit you that deeply and get to you to that extent. Me, it just left me a little bit cold and just a little bit disappointed, the victim of outsized expectations. American Beauty from 1999, the Oscar winner for Best Picture and Best Actor for Kevin Spacey, legitimately great performance as Lester Burnham. The second entry in our new series, Most Overhyped Movies. This has been episode number 422 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for spending some of your late Saturday afternoon here with me in New York. If you checked out this episode on the YouTube channel, haven't done so already, please click like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on those notifications. Or if you catch this episode on the audio platforms such as Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, or the others in which we're hosted, same general rule applies. Click like, subscribe, share, and turn on those notifications. I'll be back with a new episode real soon. Until then, peace.